There was an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. It was rumored to be haunted by the ghost of a wealthy businessman who had died in the early 1900s. The mansion had been empty for years, and no one dared to venture inside. One day, a group of teenagers decided to explore the mansion. They were bored and looking for something exciting to do. They parked their car outside the mansion and walked up to the front door. The door was locked, but one of the teenagers found a way to break in. They walked inside and were immediately hit with a musty smell. The mansion was dark and creepy, with cobwebs covering the walls and furniture. The teenagers started to explore the mansion, room by room. They found old paintings, antique furniture, and even a grand piano. But as they continued to explore, they started to feel uneasy. They heard strange noises coming from upstairs. It sounded like footsteps, but there was no one else in the mansion. The teenagers tried to ignore the noises and continue to explore. But then, things started to get even weirder. They saw shadows moving across the walls, even though there was no one else in the room. They heard whispers and laughter, but couldn't see anyone. The teenagers were scared, but they didn't want to leave. They were determined to find out what was causing the strange occurrences. As they continued to explore, they found a hidden staircase leading to the attic. They climbed the stairs and found a dusty old room. In the center of the room was an old trunk. The teenagers opened the trunk and found a diary inside. It belonged to the wealthy businessman who had died in the mansion. As they started to read the diary, they heard a loud noise. They turned around and saw the ghost of the businessman standing in front of them. He was angry and demanded that they leave his mansion. The teenagers were terrified and ran out of the mansion as fast as they could. They never went back to the mansion again. From that day on, the mansion was even more haunted than before. The ghost of the businessman was angry that the teenagers had invaded his space, and he made sure that no one else would ever enter the mansion again.
There was an old circus that had been abandoned for years. The circus had been known for its amazing performances, but it had been shut down after a tragic accident. One day, a group of teenagers decided to explore the abandoned circus. They parked their car outside the circus tent and walked inside. The circus was dark and creepy, with old costumes and props scattered around. The teenagers started to explore the circus, room by room. But then, they started to hear strange noises coming from the big top tent. It sounded like laughter and applause, but there was no one else in the circus. The teenagers tried to ignore the noises and continue to explore. But then, they saw something that made them stop in their tracks. They saw a group of clowns walking towards them. The clowns were wearing old, tattered costumes and had makeup that was peeling off their faces. The teenagers were scared and ran out of the circus as fast as they could. They never went back to the circus again. From that day on, the circus was even more haunted than before. The ghosts of the performers were angry that the teenagers had invaded their space, and they made sure that no one else would ever enter the circus again. Once there was a man named Jack who had been looking forward to his vacation for months. He had rented a beautiful house in the mountains and couldn't wait to relax and enjoy the fresh air. Finally, the day arrived and Jack packed up his car and drove to the house. When he got there, he was surprised to see that the house looked abandoned. The windows were boarded up and there was no sign of life. Jack was confused and a little scared, but he decided to investigate. He walked around the house and found an old key under the doormat. He used the key to unlock the front door and stepped inside. The house was dark and dusty, with cobwebs covering the furniture. Jack walked through the rooms, calling out to see if anyone was there. But there was no response. As he explored the house, Jack began to feel uneasy. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He heard strange noises and footsteps, but when he turned around, there was no one there. Suddenly, the floorboards creaked and Jack turned around to see a ghostly figure standing in front of him. The figure was a woman in a white dress, with long black hair and a pale face. Jack was terrified and tried to run out of the house, but the door was locked. The ghostly figure started to move towards him, and Jack felt like he was going to faint. But then, the figure disappeared and the door unlocked. Jack ran out of the house as fast as he could and drove to the nearest hotel. When he arrived, he told the hotel staff about the haunted house and they were surprised. It turned out that the house had been abandoned for years and was known to be haunted by the ghost of a woman who had died there. Jack was disappointed that his vacation had been ruined, but he was grateful that he had gotten out of the house before the ghost had hurt him. He learned to be more careful when renting vacation homes and to always do his research.